Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by...
Every day, I go to work for Entergy.
I know customers are counting on me.
So Entergy is investing millions of dollars
to keep the lights on
and installing new technology
to prevent outages before they happen.
Together,
we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
I wanted to integrate the city of New Orleans in every way possible.
Remembering a political patriarch.
The more we educate the people, the more they're going to know what to ask, what to see, how to recognize it.
The passionate fight against human trafficking.
We built it to be a creative hub for
growth in the Hollywood South.
It's the nature of what the art form is, like you're capturing, the likeness of this alligator.
A Louisiana artist meshes Cajun roots with a traditional art form.
We're nearing the peak of a very weird hurricane season, and a very quiet one too, and we've just joined exclusive company.
We sure have. For the first time in 25 years, no named storm in the month of August. Very rare. It's only happened 3 times in the satellite era.
Right now, Hurricane Earl could threaten Bermuda, but no threat to the U.S. mainland. Danielle is headed off to the North Atlantic.
And so that leaves 2 tropical waves far out in the Atlantic. Forecasters are watching them closely.
So get your hurricane game plan ready, just in case.
And now the news making headlines across the state.
Louisianans and people around the world are mourning the death of Queen Elizabeth II, the United Kingdom's longest-serving monarch. She died peacefully Thursday at her Scottish estate, Balmoral. It ended her reign of 70 years. She was only 25 in 1952 when she ascended to the throne. Her eldest son is now King Charles III. He said the death of his beloved mother is a moment of great sadness for him, his family, and the world. Queen Elizabeth was 96. The arrest of 2 Baton Rouge police officers is bringing further shame to a department under pressure because of crime and murder rates. One officer is accused of leaking details to drug dealers about an investigation. The other allegedly sexually assaulted a woman.
Louisiana has lost yet another important political figure. Moon Landrieu, the former mayor of New Orleans, died Monday. He was 92 years old. Landrieu is remembered for desegregating both public and government facilities in the city. He's also credited with building up New Orleans as a tourist attraction. LPB takes a look back through its archives.
1970 New Orleans, like much of the country, was dealing with political and racial unrest. It was the city trying its best to recover and function in a post-Jim Crow society.
Will ensure them the right to vote.
A society where African Americans could vote. They could sit where they wanted on a bus, in a restaurant, in a store. It was a big change, and the city was working overtime to reconcile a not-so-distant legacy of segregation.
And now you'll have wholesale integration in the parish of Orleans and the entire state of Louisiana. It's up to the state to provide a freedom of choice and association for each and every child of this state.
But that April, whispers of change turned to screams, turned to votes. New Orleans voted in Moon Landrieu, who promised an overhaul of the status quo.
I knew that this city could not survive with 40% of its population underemployed, not taking a position of responsibility in the government, not having any sense that they belonged, that those days were gone forever. And I wanted to integrate the city of New Orleans in every way possible.
Landrieu's political reputation was molded in the 60s when he was a state representative. The country was deep in political turmoil as the conversation around desegregation was growing. At the Capitol, Landrieu stood in a small pro-integration minority that tried to keep the Jimmy Davis administration from passing segregationist measures. He voted against every anti-integration bill, turning critical attention his way. Not all of it good.
I didn't realize it, but I was standing immediately behind Judge Perez and Senator Rainac. And somehow Senator Rainac must have turned and saw me. And when he did, he took a step toward me because we were almost chest to back to start with. And he put his hand in my face and he said, "I know you, and we're going to get you."
He left the legislature and turned his attention back to his hometown, New Orleans. He joined the city council, where he forged interracial connections with policy and agendas that would increase black presence in social and political New Orleans. By the time he was voted into the mayor's office, he'd gained a large percentage of the black electorate and a moderate number of white voters. He desegregated bars. He created an answer desk so black residents could give formal complaints about barriers they were facing. He also hired black administrators.
Some of these kids went on to become very successful businessmen, very successful politicians. They were great. They were enthusiastic, committed, excited about what we were doing. It was a great period to be serving.
Of course, this is only part of Landrieu's legacy. He worked to promote New Orleans' tourist industry. He made the Superdome the tourist attraction it is today, and he headed renovations in the French Market and Jackson Square.
The Dome Stadium hit New Orleans when it was kind of looking like things weren't going to get any better. And because we put the Dome Stadium downtown, it was an enormous investment in this city's future.
When his tenure in New Orleans came to an end, Landrieu worked as the Secretary of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. After that, he served as a judge for the Louisiana Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. He ended his career in 2000. He retired, leaving behind a legacy of change and progress.
Landrieu's influence is all over the city of New Orleans, the state, and really the country. He paved the way for politicians like Dutch Morial and, of course, Mitch and Mary Landrieu.
I'm First Lady Donna Edwards. Almost 25 million people are trafficked every year, and 1 in 4 of those victims are children. Almost half are forced into work. The majority are exploited in the sex industry. It's why Louisiana has launched a statewide public awareness and education campaign. Join me, the Louisiana Governor's Office of Human Trafficking Prevention, and the State District Attorneys Association to combat human trafficking and promote justice and healing. Learn more at StopTraffickingLA.com.
That is First Lady Donna Edwards with a video message about human trafficking, raising awareness about human trafficking. It's playing on some airports throughout the state, as a matter of fact, on video screens. This year on SWI, we have worked hard to bring attention to this horror, the myths, the facts, the numbers. The First Lady is here with us right now, Donna Edwards. Thank you so much. You've become an ambassador nationwide in the fight against human trafficking, raising awareness, etc., and the National Coalition. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, well, thank you for having me, Andre. So the National Coalition for the Prevention of Human Sex Trafficking came about during COVID. We were all locked down, as many of you were. But we decided, we had been having Zooms. We've been having summits. Mm-hmm. And those summits were in person, and we were forced to go to Zoom like many of our other organizations and groups. And so we realized that our reach could be even further in spreading awareness. We reached out to all the first spouses across the entire country and said, come listen, learn, and be a part of it. And so we started off that initial Zoom with about, 200 or 300 people. The last one we had on Zoom was over 600 or plus people, and we had registrants from Guam, from Australia, from the Vatican, and we had all these first spouses that were listening and learning.
And this is something that's, it's right up what is important to you. You have a big heart for helping people, and the use of the word real is being used very importantly with the Governor's Office of Human Trafficking Prevention, which I'm going to say you're sort of running. I know that
Well,
there are many people involved, but you're here talking about it in the face, I would say.
So we started the campaign called StopTraffickingLA.com.
Right.
And that was to bring awareness. And that's when we had the group of first spouses that came in April. We purposely had the event around the NCAA Final Four because large sporting events all over the country, including our own state, bring in trafficked victims. And so we were able to start this campaign. So we had billboards and you probably saw some things, some messages on lots of messages on radio and TV, but really to bring awareness that we all need to understand and know this. The mom at home, the teacher in the classroom, the person in the office. We all need to understand what trafficking is because it affects us all at all different levels.
Absolutely. Let me play you a clip of a radio show about human trafficking that I did this year on Jim Inkster with Dr. Katie Fetzer. We got this call from a listener.
I am actually a survivor of human trafficking. I almost got killed getting away. I got stabbed several times. The main reason I'm calling in is because I don't want guys thinking, oh, she's a drug addict, she's okay to buy.
Absolutely.
She doesn't choose to be a drug addict. She's kidnapped young. She's drugged up.
Right.
A lot of women don't get away. I was very lucky. I want to let these women know, if you can hear me and you are a female being human trafficked, and your gut tells you now's the time, it is better to lose your fingers than to die through human trafficking. And if you can get away, and you can survive, and you can have a life once you have survived.
As you hear that, what goes through your mind?
Sadness. The average age of a young girl in our own home state of Louisiana that's trafficked is 13 years old.
13.
As we have a home, there are not many of them in our state at all. One that I know of. There are others, but this home takes in these rescued victims where the state and the private and organizations all support this home. And to see the faces of these 12, 11, 13, 16-year-old young girls and some boys.
Yeah.
These happen to be only girls that I go visit, but to know how simple it happened, and a lot of it comes from family situations.
People they know.
People
That's
they
what
know.
happened in this case with this woman. Have you been able to hear of other success stories? You're mentioning it with the homes.
Sure. There's lots of success stories because the more we know, the more we hear, the more we know and learn, the more we can share. See something, say something. The more we educate law enforcement, the more we educate hospitality industry and all of these emergency rooms. 90% of traffic victims end up in emergency rooms. The more we educate the people, the more they're going to know what to ask, what to see, how to recognize it, and the more prevention and the more saving of lives that we can offer and help.
Thank you so much for being here because, as I said, you are continuing to stimulate the conversation about this, which can never stop being said.
No, and I encourage all those who are listening to educate yourselves. There's so much out there that you can learn through YouTube videos, through social media, but beware and learn so that you can be a part of the solution.
Right, tons of it at StopTraffickingLA.com. We'll give you that site.
Absolutely.
First Lady Donna Edwards, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was the Greek philosopher Plato who said art imitates life, the observation that a creative work was inspired by true events, based on a true story. Life events inspired a new feature film by Baton Rouge actress Jency Hogan and her photographer husband Aaron. They are collaborating on projects in their cinematic compound, including one that they didn't really see coming.
I sat down with Jency and Eric Hogan at their home in Baton Rouge. It's home, but also acting studio, photography studio, and rental space to a hair salon. It is unique.
We built it to be a creative hub for Baton Rouge, and that was the dream, right?
It feels like it.
Yeah, it's like we wanted to be like, like paint, like pouring out of the windows down the street, like beautiful colors, just like immersing into the community. People could come here and learn photography, they could learn acting, they could learn filmmaking.
It all began to develop after they met.
We met at Whole Foods and I married her 6 months later.
That was 11 years ago. 3 years before, Jency had returned from 8 years trying to make it as an actress in L.A. She worked, but it wasn't her ideal.
In LA, you're a small fish, big pond, and I was getting better auditions here in Louisiana, and so I decided to move home. And Louisiana, as you know, has a strong film industry. I started, working pretty quickly after I got home from LA. It was like, oh my gosh, I get to audition for really big movies. And my first audition was with Brad Pitt or something, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, why didn't I move home sooner? Louisiana is awesome. And I got home and immediately, booked my first role, or one of my bigger roles with, Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club. And then I got to work with Bruce Dern for 5 weeks as his hit woman in a movie. And when I met Aaron, I really couldn't believe there was someone who was he was half entrepreneur, half creative. And I was like, that's impressive, wow. Because he was turning his photography into a way to actually make a living.
It was a cute operation. We would go everywhere together, all the events. And I was always listening to her complain, though, about her movies that she was not getting impressive roles. So I said, why don't we start making our own films? And I was beginning to become interested in cinematography at that time. This was 2013. And she loved period pieces, loved horseback riding, and wanted to make historical dramas that were loosely based on reality, not completely fact-based. We made several short films until we even considered the idea of making a feature. It was a huge jump.
A huge jump in life-altering ways. First, that movie, Days of Daisy, has already premiered in Hollywood at the Dances with Films Festival. Jency is actor, producer, part writer of the project.
It's interesting because I, worked in LA, but then to come back and have full circle moment of now I'm presenting in LA, right. The place I was trying to conquer for so long or bust into.
Presenting and acting.
Yeah, and I'm doing all the things,
Yeah.
Days of Daisy is about a single woman reaching 40 and wanting to have children. Her boyfriend doesn't.
So you never want kids since we're assuming things from our date?
Okay, can we slow down? All right, because this is happening really fast.
I'd love to be with you for a year, but then I brought this up then. Dream world, it's you and a kid.
Days of Daisy is personal. It's based on the idea that, in order to be a parent, you don't necessarily have to have kids biologically, but you can parent in untraditional ways.
And it's something that you all have
experienced
yourself.
The personal side of the story is that when I met Jency, I had one stipulation, that we were never going to have kids. And I said, essentially, choose me or choose kids. And I was so determined, I took care of it medically before we got married, so that she knew that I was not joking around.
Over time, though, Jency began wanting children. Aaron wouldn't budge. The idea of the film was born right there.
A lot of the conflict comes between actual dialogue that Jency and I have had in real life. So it's loosely based on our story. There is a lot of differences. It's more comedic. There's
upbeat.
Yeah, it's very upbeat.
But not so upbeat, at least for Aaron, that when he watched it by himself and before anyone else, something didn't feel right about the character playing him.
Literally, watching it in this living room right now, I started feeling like it was no longer my story. Something was shifting in me. I felt like this guy was selfish. The guy representing me I saw as a selfish human. Not that all people that don't want to have kids are selfish, but I saw my own story in a way that I'd never seen before.
Interesting.
So I started having a heart change. And it eventually led to the current situation where we're actually actively trying to have a child.
After all that.
After all that. So the art, sometimes it can have a huge impact, on people's worldview, on how they see the world, how they experience life. And that's why we make movies, right? Is to, first off, we make them for entertainment. So we sit back and we relax and we enjoy that world that the filmmaker created, or the filmmakers created. But we also, we learn a lot of things.
Days of Daisy will premiere at the Louisiana Film Festival in December, then be out on iTunes, Amazon, and go from there. Their advice to others is to dream big. It is certainly paying off for them.
And now highlighting another Louisiana artist, this one takes a different approach for the sake of authenticity. Instead of painting an alligator's scales from memory, she catches them and she uses a Japanese art form to print their bodies onto a canvas. I got to tag along with Leslie Charleville through that entire process, and it was an interesting one to say the least.
I've done a lot of things in this career, but hanging out on a boat seems to be a reporter's rite of passage in Louisiana. And today, I'm embarking on that journey with Leslie Charleville.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Leslie is an artist with a unique medium. She documents marine life in their most authentic form. She's printed fish, crabs, anything really. But her most difficult task is documenting these creatures. Louisiana's unofficial mascot, the alligator. To start, you have to go on a hunt. We're out in Orleans Parish in the marsh, where pieces of rotten chicken are hanging from a pole. And that's just the beginning.
What were his hopes and dreams? Okay.
Yep, that's it. Roll it. All right, can you grab the leg?
Like this leg?
Yep, the string's cut.
Okay. Oh, it is a boy! Is that what y'all? Oh my goodness. Here's a leg.
The first gator was pulled in pretty easily. Leslie's second, however, that was a horse of a totally different color.
Okay, so the thing is, if the front legs come over, you got them with you. Good.
Yeah. Okay.
You just got to get the front legs over. So I'm going to grab the head.
Put that same tack to the back.
If somebody can each grab a leg.
Yep.
Louisiana is extremely strict about who can hunt these creatures and how many they can take. A hunter must be licensed, and they have to tag each alligator they harvest. Plus, all of this is reported and monitored to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. It's kept the population steady for decades now.
He's moving a lot, and then he's not moving yet, but I'm sure whenever he does, he will scare us all.
After catching 4 alligators, it's back to the dock to start the art process.
People request a specific size when they're working with you.
People request specific size and color combinations. So you'll see, like behind you, we've got a white. Those are things that are requested.
Okay.
A blue on a white canvas, white on blue canvas, white on gray. So we've got some very specific requests.
What is this actually called, what you're doing?
It's called gyotaku, and it was originated in Japan back in the 17th century as simply a means of documentation to record the size and species of a fisherman's catch.
Okay.
And so I think the first documented gyotaku print was a red snapper. It was an emperor that went out fishing, and he had his servants on the boat with rice paper and sumi ink, and they made the print right there on the boat. And it was just, like I said, it was documentation. And over the years, it's one of those art forms that, you know, was always around, but kind of not really faded, but it wasn't quite as popular. And then in recent years, it's really revived. And I guess, I don't know what this would be called in Japanese, because gyotaku literally means fish rubbing. So whatever alligator is, that's what this would be called. But it's a rubbing, you know, it's a nature rubbing.
Yeah, I see that. Makes sense. And how did you get into this? Was this always the plan to sell these types of prints?
No, it was not. My background is in painting and drawing, and I come from a country, fishing, hunting, outdoor loving family, and so those two worlds collided, you know, my background in art and then, you know, my upbringing, and it just was really, that's kind of all she wrote, you know. It's the perfect storm of my passion and my upbringing and what comes natural to me.
This process is extremely precise. You have to match up your roller just right, otherwise you'll end up with something Leslie calls the butterfly effect.
You're going to do the entire body, including the whole tail?
The entire body, yep. Again, you just kind of follow where it would not create that butterfly effect, even on the head, because if you go all the way down to the jaw, when you pull it up, it's not natural, butterflies.
You don't want him to look unnatural. You want to get the natural curves of his body.
Yes, it's the nature of what the art form is. Like, you're capturing you know, the likeness of this alligator. I mean, without making a print, he would be harvested, he would be gone, like not to be remembered. And now he's going to live on forever in somebody's house or on their wall, from hunting to documentation, and you can still clean them and eat them and, you know, save the meat. So his DNA is on the canvas.
After Leslie is done with her art, she takes the alligators to a processor, where every bit of its body goes to use. The hide is given to licensed fur dealers, the meat ends up in stores for consumers, and the art ends up on someone's wall, where they can see all the details of this animal up close.
It's definitely a lot of work. But it's a fun process, and the way I view it is that it's something that not many people get to do. Half of the crew here, it was their first hunt, their first time, seeing an alligator up close, and so I consider myself really fortunate and blessed that this is very normal to me. It's a normal part of life, and I meet the coolest people, I have the best stories, and I don't take it for granted. It's not my interpretation of what an alligator looks like. This is what it looks like.
To Leslie, this is a preservation of culture. It's where Cajun roots meet an ancient tradition, one that won't be forgotten or tarnished by an artist's paintbrush, where it can be admired in its truest, most authentic form.
Kara, that was, and you were way out there.
Yeah, I've definitely never done that before, but it was an experience. I can say that.
Absolutely, you look like you fit right in, like you do it all the time. Friends of LPB are proud to announce the 2023 Louisiana Legends. They are Gail Benson, Saints owner, accomplished business professional, and philanthropist. Warwick Dunn, Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year and humanitarian. Gary Fields, Pulitzer Prize Award-winning journalist.
Brigadier General Gary Jones, former commander of the United States Army Special Forces, Command Airborne, and the Pennington family, known for their long history of community giving. Next year's gala and auction will be held April 27th at Louisiana's Old State Capitol in Baton Rouge.
It is always a big, big deal. And everyone, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our LPB PBS app.
You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs you've come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, TikTok.
For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow.
And I'm Kara St. Cyr.
Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by...
Every day, I go to work for Entergy.
I know customers are counting on me.
So Entergy is investing millions of dollars to keep the lights on and installing new technology
to prevent outages before they happen.
Together.
We power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.